Hey everybody, this is Alessandro. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to share a piece of advice I give to one of my students during our one-on-one lesson about a really common mistakes that happens to all the junior animator or animation student, especially on very early stage when they're working on body mechanics. So here we have a very early blocking stage, all right? And so one of the things that I noticed, beside the fact that some of the poses could have been done a little bit better, but we're going to discuss a little bit later about this. One of the classic mistake is that even though in the from the camera view look like that the character is doing a very similar motion, as soon as I start to move the camera around and look from another direction, okay, you will notice that something it's not correct, okay. You look like, for example, here, the character look like is facing this direction, right? And as you can see from the reference, the character is already facing here, right, wherever she's gonna go, right, and more or less, you know, according to her rotation, she's just going straight, and only around this point she starts to turn here, right? But this first section, she's basically walking towards wherever she's pointing, whatever she's facing, right? Um, Here, obviously, again, it looks kind of like this, right? And I don't mind if here the reference goes like this, and here we want to go a little bit less. That's not a big deal, right? But obviously, when we started to go here in perspective, you look like the character is actually facing this direction, and then suddenly she's turning and going here, right? Also, you start to see other problem where this pose is not very appealing. Normally, during locomotion, uh, you won't have the character the knee kind of space out like this. It's kind of very weird during a normal locomotion, and then you see suddenly character popping from rotating like this to the left, um, then to the right, and then suddenly you see like it should go straight, but instead of suddenly pops to the right, and then it start to continue to go there, and then suddenly pop to the left, right? And you see that even the rotation constantly move wrongly. And in fact, even here, right, when she's kind of landing here, when we get to this point, the body is supposed to be more balanced to the center here, right? Instead, is it looking like is unbalanced to the right, okay? Because she's holding here on this leg, the weight's supposed to be a lot more here, and let me take this controller, and this one's supposed to be a lot more here, right? Of course, there is the pull vector needs to be fixed and so on, but you're getting the idea. Everything's supposed to be along more this side. But things became very obvious about these mistakes uh, when we go here, right? Because as we talk about it here, when we look at the reference, the character just goes straight until this point, right? In the very first 40 frames. But that's not what's happening. The character is kind of going straight. There is a bit of zigzag here, and then suddenly pop to the right way too much. And then here, very sharply change direction, which is not the case. Here we are seeing how the character started to um, go to the right. Okay, so this is the mistakes number one. This is obviously happened because the animator, when they start to block, they always focus on camera and they never bother to check how the animation is supposed to look like from perspective, which is my opinion is a huge mistake, especially if you want to work in games, right? But even if you don't want to work in games, I assume, why don't do it correctly rather than just focus on camera? You're just creating more opportunity for failure later on, right? This is the first issue. And second, because people, I feel like they don't understand really well, they don't understand really well where the motion is going. Because again, for me, it's clear that here, compared to where she's facing, she's just going straight. And it's only at this point that she started to turn and going straight, parallel to camera. All right. So that's really the things that I think people are struggling the most. And second, if one other mistakes that people do very quickly is that um, you know they don't check once in a while, even though in blocking you want to work in spline, right? But sorry, you want to work in step mode, but it's always good habit to check in spline what's going on, because suddenly there are moments where you can see that the character accelerate in a weird way here. As you can see, the character here is almost flying here. All right, so those are really big problem. All right, so now obviously when with my student, when we have an issue like this, I'm gonna skip the very first few frames, but my way of explaining this a little bit better, right? Let me go everything in step mode here, but we're gonna basically redo this one together very quickly, okay? Because for me the best way is to let the student understand what mistake they did. All right, and so first thing first, we're gonna start with the poses here, where the character is kind of a little bit more back with the body, and the legs tend to be a little bit more straight. I also want to make sure there are no value here, and we are using just the controller for the foot roll and stuff like that. This is supposed to be more like here, up in here, right? This is slightly more here. And again, I want to make sure you see how the character is kind of slanted like this. It's very difficult to notice this if you're just taking a look from uh, camera, all right? And also another things, I want to see where this is pointing. Why don't we point this one already where the character is going, right? It's gonna make our animation a lot easier, all right? Even this one, you see guys, there is some weird rotation here, so you need to be very careful when you do this kind of stuff, right? So again, maybe you want to rotate this one a little bit more. Okay, we want to adjust in here, right? And so if you've done things correctly, right now we want to have the character just going forward, right? And so we're gonna start with the first contact position here, and again, I want to have the foot just moving forward. Okay, gonna push this one here more or less. Okay, so I'm gonna adjust this one here. Okay, very important again when you do this kind of stuff. You see, sometimes the foot roll doesn't work very well, so you need to adjust this one in here. Okay, and you see how the character is moving forward, right? It's kind of moving towards this position. Okay, and again, another things maybe I want to adjust here is the rotation, because I want to make sure the character is gonna go in there, right? So I'm gonna go here and adjusting this one. Okay, I don't want the knee to be spread. Okay, so for me normally, even when I do the blocking, I want to do the down position. Okay, so I want to make sure the down position is done properly. All right, so it's going to be around here. Here, as you can see, take a good habit to always reset those controller. Okay, and then we go here. Okay, I'm gonna go here and push the leg in here more or less. This is gonna be like this, and this is gonna be like this. Okay, we're gonna adjust the position here. Okay, just notice how the leg is going a little bit more forward. Okay, we want to kind of adjust this one here. Okay, yeah, you see, as long sometimes what can happen is that your controller start to move on the side. Okay, this is very common, so that's why I said, guys, very important you do your due diligence and do this correctly. All right, now we're gonna work on the contact in the front, and again, I can tell exactly where the character is landing. Okay, so I'm gonna need to put it right here, right? It's gonna be something like this, more or less. Okay, and then I'm gonna go here and start to adjust it. Okay. Also very important, go and take a look the trajectory. Where are you going? Okay. So you go here, you look orthographic, go take a look at the top, right? And we said at the beginning she's working more or less kind of straight, right? So if this correct, okay, so if this is going all right, then here immediately this needs to be around here, more or less, okay? So we adjust it here. This maybe needs to be a little bit higher, right? Again, we're gonna reset all this. And because you notice, guys, that here it started to turn, what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna start it to rotate this one here. Okay, so it's gonna rotate it here, right, a little bit more. And here again, down position. Okay, so this is gonna be all on 0 here, right? And here is gonna, yep, land here more or less. But again, now you need to slowly start to rotate, because we're gonna start slowly to rotate in that direction. Okay, so we need to see where you see, like for example, the body is more forward, it's not so much behind, so it needs to be around here more or less, and started to go this direction a little bit. Okay, these are pushing behind here, right? Rotate the controller. Okay, let's take a look here. More or less that's the right position. Okay, before I move forward though, as we talked about it before, we want to check the spacing as well. So it's very good once in a while, just stop for a brief moment, and we are gonna check what's going on here. All right, the other thing you want to make sure that maybe this is supposed to be more a little bit more linear here. Okay, and hide the reference and check what's going on, mostly for the jump part, right? Yeah, see, I want to make sure it's going forward enough here, right? That is not doing something like that. Sometimes they, as I mentioned before, I'm gonna explain with this one. Sometimes people do this one and they don't use the master control, obviously, but the spacing is not done correctly, and it kind of pop forward, right? Let me put it in spline this one, so you guys can understand a little bit better, right? They do this kind of stuff. This is very common. You see, it can accelerate very quickly, or completely the opposite. Like it doesn't accelerate at all, right? This is very common when you do jumps, because um, you don't know where your character is going, how much it should travel. Maybe this is not enough. Maybe a little bit less actually. Yeah, right. Something like this. Right? It feels like it's not actually jumping. You know what I mean? So it's very important that you go on and off with the uh, between step mode and splining to check that you're doing things correctly. And if you don't, push it. Push this part here that is going more forward. You go to parent, right? You adjust all the controller, blah blah blah, and you see the arc here. You again you take the arc here, right? And you let me do it here, right? In case you want to, let's assume you want to fix that, right? You take this one here. This is the part where you feel like it should have been traveling most, right? You adjust it here, you push it here, and then you need to adjust the key here, obviously, or else you can go to the graph editor and do that. All right. Now here is the part where the character is turning, right? Again, we want to repeat here one more time. This is gonna be here. This is gonna go up here, right? But again, it's going more to this direction, okay? It's turning here. And so even here, this one, we need to, you know, here, right? Kind of like here. This one will push in this direction. We adjust this one. You see, it doesn't take very long actually, but if you don't do it correctly, you can have a lot of problem later in later part of the animation. Okay. Again, we want to push this one here. It's kind of like this, right? Check your up and down, okay? And then here, you kind of want to get in here, right? This is gonna be, again, now is the moment where the character is kind of going fully like this, okay? And in fact, what I want to do, again, I want to go back to step mode, right? And take a look at this, all right? Maybe here I want to adjust this one, okay? Maybe here I want to adjust this one a little bit more, right? So it's getting here, basically, okay? And because of this, you put this one here, you adjust the pose, and that's all. This 2 on 0. You can put it here or whatever. I will leave it up to you, okay? And we adjust this one as well, okay? Obviously, through the entire lesson, we do the full blocking, all right? This is just a small section I'm sharing with you guys, but it's gonna look like something like this, right? Obviously, we are checking from other camera angle here. The turn looks fine, all right? We do the same in perspective, and once a small section is done, we tend to move to the next one, and so on, right? So I really want to recommend you guys to pay a lot of attention when you do stuff like this, because blocking, it is extremely important, is the foundation of any animation you will do in your career. So it is very important that you learn how to plan and do things properly, because or else you will struggle a lot more when you do full character, when you do blocking plus, when you do spline polish, because your mechanics won't work. And basically, rather than animating, you will be guessing on what to move to make it look like. And that's not the right approach, in my opinion, to to face an animation. I hope you enjoyed this short video, guys. If you have any question, let me know in the comment, or I'll see you next time. Ciao, guys.